Good evening. Welcome to Northbeat. I'm Megan Roberts. We begin in the Northwest Territories, where the fire at the doorstep of Fort Good Hope continues to leave most of the community displaced. Several hundred residents fled the fire on Saturday. Some are in Delaney, others at a fish camp, and many are in Norman Wells, a town now asking the territorial government to step in and help. Emma Tranter is there.
We've just been cooking whatever we could to keep people happy.
Norman Wells Mayor Frank Pope has watched his wife cook non-stop for the last 4 days to feed the over 200 evacuees who have come here from Fort Good Hope. Pope says the stores in the community are short-staffed. The town office has been closed so its staff can work at the evacuation center, and it's starting to take a toll.
We need help. As of today, I'm hoping that we can back off as a town with our staff doing all the work, our own people doing the volunteering, and let GNWT take over.
The Department of Municipal and Community Affairs says they're working on it. In a statement to CBC, the department says it's aware of the need for more staff, but there are no plans to send people to Norman Wells right now because of limited accommodation capacity in the town. Instead, they're working with MACA staff already on the ground. The community is doing what it can, with lots of help from evacuees here on the ground. The mayor says supplies are okay for now, though there's no barge coming to the community this year. That's because of low water levels here on the Mackenzie River. The town has found other ways to make do, including with an air barge from Buffalo Airways. Satu MLA Daniel McNeely echoes Pope's call for assistance and says MACA has already been supporting the community's efforts.
We are putting the message out there that yes, we need help. Some people have regular jobs in the community, so they volunteered during the weekend. Now, yesterday and today, they're going back to their regular jobs. So we have to recognize that they need a break.
As for the coming days, there are still lots of questions about when evacuees can return to their community and what will happen over the next few days with the fire. For now, people are still stepping up to help. Emma Tranter, CBC News, Norman Wells.
Let's hear now from some of the people on the receiving end of all that help. Here are two evacuees from Fort Good Hope speaking about the scramble to get out of town and what it's been like in Norman Wells.
In the inside, I was really stressed out, so my mom told me, keep calm. We don't know where you're actually going, but yeah, until we heard police or sirens. They're saying evacuation, rushing back home. And they put the siren on. And I was like, telling my dad, on the double, we have to go pack up now. I miss my home.
We've been challenged with various disasters over the last number of years, and there was no fear we can overcome. It's that kind of optimistic feeling I had, because we always seem to get together as a community to overcome these things, and we've done it before. We've proven our abilities, and again, some people stayed behind, and just the elders and the kids and their guardians are here. Those behind are doing the battle for us. As it stands right now, we're being updated daily, provided with accommodations thanks to my daughter and my son-in-law. Got a place to stay, so we're comfortable. Yep.
That was Tommy Kakfwi from Fort Good Hope. He's currently in Norman Wells waiting for the all clear to go back home. From wildfires to extreme temperatures now, millions of Canadians are sweltering under a heat dome this week. Warnings stretch across large parts of Ontario, Quebec, and Eastern Canada. As Ithel Musa reports, the extreme heat and humidity pose health risks for both humans and animals.
From Ontario to Atlantic Canada, millions of Canadians are under a heat warning as high heat and humidity reach what experts call dangerous levels.
I'm a little bit nervous, to be honest with you. Based on what happened in British Columbia last summer, it was extreme, like really extreme.
I like it right now. I have a feeling my feelings will change by August.
Montreal will feel like 40 degrees Celsius during the worst of it this week. This shelter is one place where people can cool down, get some water, and escape the extreme heat.
People can die from the heat just like they can die from the cold.
It's all happening because of a heat dome, a high-pressure weather system that pushes hot air down near the Earth's surface and traps it, causing the temperature to rise.
Not only do you have the heat, but also you have the poor air quality from the fact the sun will cook the chemicals coming out of our tailpipes and smokestacks. It's just the whole day, morning, noon, and night. We can't escape it.
And neither can animals like these polar bears at the Toronto Zoo. There's a pool, ice machines, and plenty of shade to keep them cool. The extreme heat is something zookeepers are paying close attention to keep animals safe.
I think what's really interesting is how everybody is starting to get far more tuned into weather, into climate change, and what that means for our needs. Well, we have to think about that for our animals' needs.
When it comes to humans, experts say it's especially important for the vulnerable, like seniors, children, and those experiencing homelessness, to stay cool and avoid intense physical activity during these high temperatures. Idil Musa, CBC News, Toronto.
That heat dome is also affecting much of the U.S. Midwest and Northeast. Forecasters say hundreds of records could be shattered daily from dangerously high temperatures. Tens of millions of Americans from Chicago to Detroit and Maine are coping with the most severe heat wave in over a decade. In some places, temperatures could hit 105 degrees Fahrenheit. That's about 40 degrees Celsius. Forecasts show several straight days ahead of relentless high heat and humidity. Like Canada, much of the U.S. Midwest and Northeast are under heat warnings or watches. Officials in several major cities are warning people to take the heat seriously and take precautions. The International Conference on Permafrost is underway in Whitehorse right now. Scientists from across the globe are gathered at the Kwanlin Dun Cultural Center, and while all of them have studied permafrost for years, some have never seen it in person. Catherine Meyer is a geoinformation engineer from Switzerland. She finally got to see a permafrost thaw slump outside of Whitehorse.
I've never seen one in my life, and it's just like a 30-minute drive. So I think that's actually an amazing opportunity to have it here and really see the stuff we research on.
Dozens of sessions are scheduled for the conference. Delegates will talk about everything from glaciers in Antarctica to the impact of permafrost thaw on northern infrastructure. The conference continues until Thursday. A clinic specializing in biomechanical health devices is making waves in the territories. It offers a made-in-the-north solution, which is a rarity for certain kinds of specialized healthcare. Maria Tobin met the couple behind the clinic.
This is only part of the process of making orthotics, and it's done here in Whitehorse. Run by this husband and wife duo, Yukon Biomechanics has changed the game for those who need their services. It's the only full-time practice of its kind in the north.
Patients don't have to travel down, because that was the previous option for patients, was that they had to travel to typically one of the larger city centers down south.
The pair treats people with a range of needs. From lower limb braces to specialized helmets, they make devices for people of all ages. Curtis Guerin is the registered orthotic technician. He's also an amputee who requires orthotics himself. He says his job is just another way of giving back.
We do have a lot of late nights and weekend work, so to kind of get to do that with a smile, because you know the level of impact that you're having on somebody's life, allows you to kind of push through those moments.
Yukon Biomechanics sees patients from small communities across the region, such as northern British Columbia, Inuvik, and Fort McPherson. McHugh Guerin says the services make a difference to the communities.
This is not a process that is kind of a one appointment process. It's something that occurs over time. So we need to do an assessment and casting. We need to do some fabrication of the brace, and then we need to do the fitting.
Work is steady. The couple says they see about 8 to 9 patients a day for things like quick fixes and new fittings. And business is growing. Yukon biomechanics say that they hope to add some prosthetic services sometime in the near future. Maria Tobin, CBC News, Whitehorse.
The organization that runs shelters in Iqaluit is skeptical that a new national system for tracking deaths among homeless people will work in Nunavut. The Public Health Agency of Canada and Statistics Canada developed the new database. It'll name a person's residence type when they die, and then that data will be shared with coroners and medical examiners across the country, starting as early as this summer. The Ukutak Society runs the men's shelter in Iqaluit. It says Nunavut is already short on resources when it comes to adequate data collection.
We already are not hooked in to homelessness data collection. That's done by the federal government through various means, but so that would be interesting. I'd like myself to know how that's going to happen with Nunavut. We're usually the last ones.
McCorston says data is important for policymaking and for busting misconceptions about the causes of death among homeless people. Nunavut's chief coroner says his office is finalizing the way it collects data. He hopes to make it relevant to Nunavut while also allowing comparisons with other jurisdictions across Canada. Nunavut RCMP want to make greater use of emergency alerts in situations where public safety is at risk. It's one of the recommendations from the inquiry into the 2020 mass shooting in Nova Scotia. Iqaluit RCMP got access to the alert system sometime in the last few months. It allows officers to broadcast messages on radio and mobile devices. It was first used last month in Rankin Inlet.
So if it is an active threat and we are able to locate a subject, we will give out descriptions on what to look for or who to avoid. And if the subject's location is noted, if we are able to locate the suspect, then we will put an issue saying to stay away from certain areas.
Henry says the timeliness of alerts is a priority, but they also need to have the right information to issue a message. Prior to the alert system, Nunavut RCMP relied primarily on social media posts to notify the public, which they will continue to use. Iqaluit's mayor says he's pleased to hear more police officers will be on the lookout for public intoxication this summer. RCMP say officers are taking a zero-tolerance approach and doing extra patrols. Last month, Iqaluit's mayor made an appeal for greater enforcement of the Nunavut Liquor Act. He says it'll require buy-in from the rest of the community to be successful.
It is everyone's responsibility that the whole city, the resident of Iqaluit's responsibility, that if they see that they can probably also report or call the RCMP as well.
Iqaluit RCMP and other officials are set to meet in the coming weeks to discuss preventative measures.
Enforcement is one thing, but it's only part of the solution, I guess. But in terms of the RCMP, we'll certainly continue to step up our enforcement of the problem.
Iqaluit City Councillors also floated the idea of a ban on purchasing and consuming alcohol for short intervals over summer. The mayor says he'll be waiting to see results from the RCMP's increased patrols before determining whether a ban is still needed. Such an action would require a public vote initiated through the government of Nunavut. Individual Canadians are not the only ones struggling with high interest rates in this country. Small and medium businesses are also having trouble making ends meet. That's in the findings of a survey out today from Equifax Canada. Scott Peterson has the details.
This survey out this morning is showing basically the same thing that's happening with individual Canadians incurring more debt from month to month. Same thing is happening with small and medium-sized businesses. And this is according to Equifax Canada. And they're the group that keeps track of debit and credit card payments on the front lines to see what these small and medium businesses are doing. Let's take a look at some of the effects and some of the results of this survey that's out this morning from, again, from Equifax. There has been a 74% jump in installment loans at the later part of 2023. This is in order to pay back for a lot of businesses that took out the Canada Emergency Business Account loans in order to pay that back to get the free forgiveness on that. Also, delinquency rates. This is a serious one as well. That's up over 12% in the first quarter of this year. And this is a delinquency not paying bills for longer than 30 days between businesses and suppliers. And that's a troubling statistic because if you're not paying a supplier, that supplier will not supply what that business needs to continue to exist. Also, we're looking at total debt outstanding, which is creeping up for a lot of small businesses and medium businesses out there. Outstanding trade balances are up 7.5% to a new record of $32 billion of total accumulated debt out there. That is a record high as far as what's being accumulated for small businesses. And again, a footnote here, smaller, medium type of businesses are really the backbone of the Canadian economy. They are responsible for the majority of employment in the country, and a lot of economic benefits are spun off from this these very entities. And also they're looking at we saw our first rate reduction from the Bank of Canada, so clearly a lot of people, individual Canadians, as well as a lot of small, medium, and large businesses for that matter, are hoping for more rate cuts to make things more affordable in the near future. Scott Peterson, CBC News, Toronto.
You promised me that you won't look back. There's gonna come a time you'll feel the darkness. You don't let them win.
How does someone just disappear? How can I be in love with something that was never there?
We are not a dying people. We are here and we are speaking.
I had a vision that I one day would be free again.
It is my right, it is my privilege, and it is my heritage.
When we see Team Canada on the world stage, we're witnessing pure greatness. What we don't see is their struggle. We don't see Maggie McNeil navigating her anxiety, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander getting cut from his high school team, or Ellie Black hearing she's just too old to compete. What we don't see makes us who we are. We're all bravely facing the odds in our lives, and our bravery is our victory.
Who's this then?
Inspector George Crabtree.
We'll just be needing one more thing.
Well, this is delightful.
So, you want to watch CBC News Explore, a new kind of news channel. Here's how to find us. We're on the CBC News app, on CBC Gem, and on your smart TV. Stream anytime. It's always free. CBC News Explore.
Sipping on a bit of Henny. Can I get a little Remy? Feeling heavy. Chilling, but I'm feeling ready. Pulled up in a big old Chevy. Dance floor stops and Miguel them drops. Queen with the locks and the crown on top. Feed in a box, never sound on pots. If it ain't the Henny, give me crown on rocks. Ah!
Our friends at CBC Indigenous are marking National Indigenous History Month by showcasing incredible Indigenous folks achieving incredible feats. The project is called FIRST, and it celebrates First Nations, Inuit, and Métis trailblazers. Tonight, we head to Manitoba to learn more about the province's first outlaw, a Métis man. Brett Forrester met up with one of his living descendants to learn more.
Will Goodon is on a trip through time. The Métis leader is tracing the steps of a notorious ancestor with a peculiar claim to fame. The journey brings him here to Fort Dufferin, a historic site along the Red River in southern Manitoba. Today it tells a glowing history of Canada's Mounties in their famed march west, but Goodon isn't here for that.
The Northwest and Manitoba belong to Canada. Like, that is about as colonial speak as you can possibly get.
Instead, inside a 19th century shed turned into a museum, he stares up at a large axe, and that's why he's here. Fort Dufferin is where his great-uncle Gilbert Godin committed an infamous murder in 1873, making him Manitoba's first official outlaw.
There's no doubt he would have been in and around an area like this if he had his favorite bartender already scoped out.
Now, you won't find that history on any plaque, but here's how it all went down.
There was a brawl, there was a fight, there was a party.
Gilbert wasn't the guy you wanted to face in a bar fight. He was Métis from Minnesota, a stout 6'2" and strong as an ox. His posse arrived at the newly built fort in 1873 at an unlicensed tavern. But when they were refused drink, another Métis man, Benjamin Marchand, threatened and pushed the bartender, cueing the brawl. Gilbert defended the barkeep, so Marchand's son grabbed a shovel and banged Gilbert on the head. The Godin family then joined the fray, but things soon took a tragic turn.
During the scuffle, Gilbert apparently grabbed an axe and hit one of the Marchands over the head. Killed the guy. You don't know which end of the axe he used, but it was a murder.
After that fatal brawl here at Fort Dufferin, Gilbert fled across the border to North Dakota, but just 6 months later he was apprehended following yet another brawl. He was sent to Winnipeg, where he was sentenced to death. But he still had some friends, among them a bartender who intervened on his behalf. His sentence was commuted to 14 years in prison.
We trace that path north to Upper Fort Garry, another historic site in Winnipeg. It isn't far from where Gilbert was sentenced to hard labor on the chain gang, though that didn't last long.
He also knew what he was doing. He was got off of the chain somehow. And he was at Fort Garry, and he jumped in the river, swam across the river, and got away.
The jailbird flew south again from Winnipeg to Pembina in present-day North Dakota. That's where a band of armed lawmen came to arrest him in 1877, but Gilbert confronted them with a revolver in each hand. The lead constable hesitated, and in that instant, the convict's mom and sister-in-law jumped on the cop, allowing Gilbert to flee. After, you guessed it, another brawl 3 years later, he was finally captured and jailed in a building made of hewn oak logs. A bad idea when inmates are forced to cut wood all day for work.
One day, he was able to smuggle a saw blade into the jail cell. They cut a hole in the roof of the jail and snuck out, never to be heard from again.
For Godin, there is greater significance to Gilbert's story despite his life of crime. Strolling through Fort Garry, where Louis Riel seized power and helped usher Manitoba into Confederation in 1870, Godin says his distant relative is a tragic figure, but also a loyal one. A man whose defiance and independence the Métis Nation can relate to.
After Gilbert's second jailbreak, he was reportedly spotted at a camp along the Missouri River just 5 months later, but he was never seen nor heard from again in Canada, and so the ultimate fate of Manitoba's first official outlaw remains a mystery. I'm Brett Forster for CBC Indigenous in Fort Dufferin, Manitoba.
Work is being done to build a daycare facility in Sunday Rayok. The community has not had a daycare building for more than a decade. The sealift work is set to begin once construction materials arrive in the community. The sealift delivery will happen in the fall of this year. The Kakivax Association is helping fund the daycare. Its president and CEO says the facility will have ample space for the community.
We've made the design of the facility to be very bright on the outside, and there will be a deck and also the ramp for any accessibility, and inside all the space that you would need for a childcare, daycare that can fit 44 children plus their staff comfortably.
The daycare is set to be completed in January 2026. Nunavut Eastern Arctic Shipping Incorporated has purchased a new shipping vessel. The vessel is called Ukpik. It's the 7th ship the community now owns. The company's president and CEO says the large increase in building materials for houses is part of the reason for the new ship.
The volume is increasing. There's a higher demand. In large part, the population is growing. The needs are different. and definitely residential construction is booming. There's a high demand. There's big projects coming along, so we need to prepare.
Dagenet says this new ship will be able to handle heavier loads compared to older ships. It's expected to start this summer. It is all or nothing for the Edmonton Oilers tonight. They take on the Florida Panthers in Game 5 of the Stanley Cup Final this evening. We hit the streets of Iqaluit to talk to hockey fans about how they think the game will go.
Well, I don't think it gets any bigger than Stanley Cup being in the building. I think we were able to pull one away last game, Saturday, which was nice. It was an 8-1 win. I don't think anyone expected that. Florida's a solid team through and throughout. But as we know, we've got McDavid, we've got Draisaitl. They're rolling on all pistons right now. So when they're playing the top of their game, I don't think any team can keep up with them.
I think the Oilers can pull it off tonight because they came out smoking the last game, and I think they woke up. I really think they woke up.
I can't wait to watch it. I know that they've been playing really good, and they've made it so far, and they haven't been this far in so long. So I really hope I get to see them win, because I haven't my whole life.
Your dad is in Florida right now,
Yeah.
so and he got tickets in the last second, and he didn't invite you. That must not have felt good.
Her brother. I had an exam this morning, and I have another exam tomorrow morning. But yeah, they left yesterday night. They're in Florida right now, ready.
The weather looked so nice in southern Yukon there, we just wouldn't want to pull away from it. Apologies for that. That was obviously a technical error. That is Northbeat for tonight. For news anytime, head to cbc.ca/north. Thank you for watching. I'm Megan Roberts. Have a good night.
Are you ready to be entertained?
Stand-up comedy, best comedians from across the globe.
Oh, great.
An incredible lineup.
Canada.
Are you ready?
Oh. Are you kidding me? CBC's got the best in stand-up comedy.
That's pretty unbelievable, man.
It's a scam. It's a scam.
No f***ing way.
Ooh, it's a bit spicy.
It'll change your life. Catch it all free on CBC Gem.
Well done.
Y'all give it up. Give it up. Give it up.
That same woman from the SEC keeps calling. Can I give her your number?
No.
Michael Lazaridis, want to come and answer some questions?
Why is the SEC looking at us?
I'm sure it's nothing. Yeah.
I'm just wondering how you convinced all these engineers from around the world to come all the way to Canada. Do you know what the sentence is for multi-million-dollar stock fraud?
I did not know what my future would look like.
The industry wasn't set up for me to thrive in.
I didn't realize how formative 25 to 30 would be.
I was so excited when they said I got to an interview with you.
Q with Tom Power. Available now on CBC Listen or wherever you get your podcasts.
You promised me that you won't look back.
You don't let them win. I had a vision that I one day would be free again.
We are not a dying people. We are here and we are speaking.